So I'm just gonna give you guys a quick demonstration because I'm not quite sure of like the lighting after I'm done talking about it. So then we'll just go inside after.
Awesome. I'm so sorry.
So, Nick already has your attention, I think, and I don't need to introduce him any further. But I would like to tell you something that I don't know if he'll mention. His design is completely original, and what impressed me even more is that he had the foresight to build a prototype so as to anticipate any issues that might come up with the real thing. He would have been here last night to tell us about it, but he was waylaid by the flu, and I'm so glad he was able to be here tonight. Nick Kitalski.
So, hi, my name is Nick Kitalski. For my 8th grade project, I built an electric motorized skateboard. So this is just a little overview of what I'm going to be talking about tonight. So, here you go. So why I chose to build an electric motorized skateboard. So I was really just looking for a project that would combine several of my interests, and I really found that with a motorized skateboard because I've really always loved building with my hands and engineering, and I've always kind of skateboarded some throughout my life. So once I knew that I was going to build a motorized skateboard, I had to find a good mentor. And so I decided to ask my uncle if he would be my mentor, and he was really just the perfect mentor because he has a engineering degree and he works in the Exploratorium, which is a science center kind of place. But he also loves to skateboard and he's really good at that. The only problem was that he lives in San Francisco. So what I decided to do was kind of correspond with him so that I could just kind of ask him questions over the phone or email and hopefully get answers. And that worked really well, but then I was also able to have my dad's help with a lot of the different building aspects and doing that. So that was perfect. So I'm just going to kind of familiarize you guys with a skateboard. So it's pretty simple. It's just the deck, and then the trucks are one of the main things that I had to use, and then the wheels. And the trucks are pretty much what allows you to kind of convert the way you lean into actually being able to have the wheels turn. So how do electric motors work? So pretty much this is a wire, and when a current passes through a wire, it generates a electromagnetic field around the wire. And so here's just a little video kind of explaining that. So what I've done is I've actually coiled up some wire, and then kind of had two wires coming off from around that, and then I've sanded each one of the sides of the wires down a little bit, so just kind of sanded down the insulation on them, and then I just have a battery hooked up right here, and that's a really strong magnet. And so what happens is the electricity only passes through the wire some of the times, and so the times where it is passing through, it generates an electromagnetic current. So if you can think about when it is passing through, it pulls the wire towards the magnet, and then the sanded area is not touching the wire, so then it kind of stops, and then its momentum just carries it around. And that's actually how motors work in just the most basic form. So these are just some of my starting materials. And so I used an old pocket bike in my garage, which is this right here, and I just got the motor and battery from that. And then I used some longboard trucks that I had, and just some plywood for the deck. Okay, so at this point I knew some of my materials and stuff, and so I decided to just kind of create a prototype board to see how it all fit together. But one of the first steps in making my prototype board was when I originally decided to make a motorized skateboard, I thought what I was actually going to do is, I'm just going to go back to the previous slide, I thought I was going to cut into the trucks right here, kind of to expose the axle that I, for some reason, thought was running through the trucks, and then I could mount a gear to that. But after just several minutes of playing around with that, I realized it wouldn't really work because there is no axle running through it. So what I actually decided to do is take the back wheel from the skateboard that was already outfitted with the gear and everything, and that I knew would work with the motor because it worked perfect on the little pocket bike, and just actually use that as the back wheel for my motorized skateboard. So I would just have normal longboard trucks like these in front, and a back wheel like that in back. So I kind of had all that, and then I really just wanted to build it, but after kind of talking with my mentor some, he convinced me to kind of make a prototype board, just because when you're doing something that has kind of never been done before, or that you don't have any sort of instructions or anything like that, it's really a good thing to do, because it's a lot harder to go back and change stuff rather than just kind of knowing how stuff fits together, and then you can make your final product. So this is just a simple prototype type deck that I assembled in just a couple minutes using a jigsaw. And so I just kind of cut out a simple V here to kind of accommodate the wheel, so there wouldn't be as much pressure on this on the mounting things that I used. So what I used to mount the back wheel was this angle iron, and that just worked really well. I just bolted the axle from the pocket bike into that, and it was a very easy process. So the trucks. This was a very easy thing to do. I just measured the distance from the holes and drilled them. But then I was kind of riding it around and stuff. And the one thing that I realized, so I was riding it around, but with just the trucks and the back wheel, without it being powered by anything. And what I realized is I really couldn't turn very well. And so I kind of asked my mentor about that a little bit. And what he told me is that actually the angle that the trucks are mounted onto the board actually changes how easy or hard it is to turn. And so by just placing a little shim under the trucks, it changed the angle just by a little bit that they were mounted, and allowed me to turn a lot easier. So now I had the trucks and the back wheel mounted, and it was turning pretty good. So it's just a quick picture of that. So mounting the motor. So this was pretty much the same thing as mounting the trucks. It was just something where I kind of put a pencil through the holes, just kind of marked them and drilled through. But the only problem is that because I had to kind of slant the pencil to fit into these holes, and I know that sounds like a very simple thing, just when you're marking the holes, but that actually made a kind of a pretty difficult problem, because the holes were actually way too close together, and so I had to spend probably almost an hour just widening the holes by hand, because they were too close together. So what should have been a very simple task, I just made it way too hard on myself. And so once I had the motor mounted, just for my prototype deck, I just decided to, like when I was first doing some of the planning, I decided to actually cut off the mount that the pocket bike used to hold the battery in place. But just for my prototype deck, I just used some tape to mount it to the board. And yeah, I was really excited because I could ride it and stuff, and it was like really late at night when I finished it, but yeah, I was super happy because I was riding it around our street in the dark and everything. Probably wasn't the best thing to do. But then I think probably a couple days later, then I just had to start taking it all apart, because it's the only bad part of a prototype board is then you get this kind of feeling of like that you're done, but then you just have to take it all apart because you're not